this is the start page for the DevNet curriculum in the new Cisco Networking Academy course for DevNet Associate. You can see that the Networking Academy has broken it down into 8 chapters. And what's interesting is the first chapter is a sort of review chapter that basically says, hey, you need a little background in working with Linux to basically get DevNet certified, and you also need some background in Python programming. Now, you don't need to be an advanced Python programmer or an expert Python programmer, but you do need to know the basics. And you don't need to be a Linux guru either, but you should know how to get around in the Linux terminal and the basic commands for moving around the file system and things like that. So first things first, a good thing to do is to make sure that you have a little background in basics, very basics, of Python programming. Now, a book that was recommended to me and that I just purchased, which is an excellent book, is the Python Crash Course 2nd edition by Eric Mathis. And this is really written in a clear language. It doesn't go into all of the details of, at an expert level of what Python can do. It just stays to the basics, which I like. It's really quick, and it is what it says it is. And so I really quite like that. So in this class that I'm working on right now, what we're doing is trying to basically go through the chapters in this Python book to just get the Python basics down and just get introduced to the core concepts in Python programming. So to do that, what you need is, I'm recommending, in my classes, I always use Linux Mint Virtual Machine. So when we do our programming, if we use this Linux Mint Virtual Machine, you can see here I have one here running in Virtualbox, then basically everybody has kind of the same platform that they're on, and it kind of simplifies the class, simplifies the course, and makes it a good place to start with. Okay, so I have some instructions based on Chapter 1 of Python Crash Course. This is No Starch Press. I bought this digital edition from nostarchpress.com directly. And it's easy to get, and it's worth it. It's worth the money. Okay, so if I bring up my Notepad document here. Okay, so I've brought up my Notepad document here, and these are my Chapter 1 notes. And this is what you're going to want to do to get started. And I can show you a little bit here. So getting started with Python in Mint. So the first thing you want to do is download Linux Mint from linuxmint.com, and I recommend the MATE or Mate 64-bit version. And you're downloading the ISO file, which is the image file. This is the image file of the Linux operating system. Then you're going to want to install Virtualbox. If you prefer using VMware Workstation, absolutely use VMware Workstation. I love VMware Workstation. It's great. If you're going to do it, you're also going to want to install the extension pack and run the extension pack that goes with Virtualbox. And you can do this at virtualbox.org. Okay, after you've installed Virtualbox and the extension pack, and you've downloaded the Linux Mint ISO file, you're going to start Virtualbox and then create a new virtual machine. I recommend that you set the operating system to Linux, 64-bit, and then the nearest parent or distribution that you could put is Ubuntu, because Mint is based on Ubuntu, so I choose Linux 64-bit Ubuntu, and that works great. You're going to set your virtual RAM to, I recommend 2 gigabytes to 4 gigabytes of RAM if you can afford it. My laptop has plenty of RAM, so I can set this virtual machine, the virtual RAM, to 4 gigs, no problem. I set my hard drive to 15 gigabytes, and then I'm going to set the virtual CD DVD drive to the ISO image file, and that's from within the settings. So when you basically, the settings here, you have to go to storage and set the CD, the virtual CD DVD drive, and point it at your ISO image file that you downloaded. Okay, then you start the virtual machine. When you start the virtual machine for the first time, On the desktop, it'll look like a little icon here that says install Linux Mint. That's because when you download Linux Mint, it's a live CD or live CD DVD, and so it's a distro that runs instantly. But if you actually want to install it, you need to double click the icon on the desktop. Now you can't see it here because it's no longer there, but the icon on the desktop that says install the operating system. Then when you do that, it actually starts the installation process, and it installs Linux Mint to the virtual hard drive that you created, that virtual hard drive. So you're going to walk through the installation dialog. You're going to set the username, the password, the language, the keyboard language, the location, things like that. Then after you do that, I also recommend that once you've got it installed, that you go to Devices and insert the Guest Editions CD image. So you can see here I've put Devices, Insert Guest Edition CD image. It should open an auto run prompt in which you'll enter your password, and then it'll start the installation of the guest editions. This is kind of like, think of it like in VMware, it'd be like VMware Tools. And it's going to allow your virtual machine to do things. Most importantly, it's going to allow your virtual machine to get full screen capabilities so that you can stretch the window out and make it bigger. Once that's done, you restart your operating system. Just go to the Start menu icon here and choose Log Out or Restart, and restart Mint, and you should be good to go. After that, what you're going to do is you're going to open a bash terminal. So right here, I've got the terminal here. I've got my install. I've done all of these things. I installed Mint. Okay, I did the guest editions. I restarted. You can see that I can drag it now and make it a little bigger here. It works excellent. Now what I'll do is I'll open up a terminal, which is right down here on the quick launch bar at the bottom, and you can see I've got a terminal. I can go to Edit, Profile Preferences, and I'm going to change the font size to make it a little bit bigger, easier to see. Okay, there we have it. All right, now that I have that down, I can say, all right, let's start using Python right away. And I'll just go here and I'll say Python -V, and it says the command's not found. So it looks like Python is not installed on the system, but it actually is. So if I do an up arrow and I change that to Python 2 -V, you can see that Python 2, you just have to call it out with the version of Python. And let's try it with Python 3. So Python 3 and 2 are already installed in Linux Mint, but you have to call them out with the number associated with them. And in the book Crash Course in Python, it focuses mostly on Python 3. In fact, I think it's just solely Python 3. All right, let's take a look. We'll do another command here. We'll do a list long, and we'll go to root user bin, and we're going to look for anything that starts with pyth. Put a wildcard in there, and you can see that in that folder, the root folder, the user folder, the bin folder, starting with pyth, we have user bin Python 2, user bin Python 3, and you know what? I forgot something here. I forgot the L, -long. There we go. List -L long, and there we go. Now we get the file details or the listing details, and you can see here that this file here, when you type in Python 2, it's pointing you to Python 2.7, and it's a symbolic link. You can see the L right here. It's a symbolic link, and there's another symbolic link that when you put in Python 3, it's going to point you to Python 3.8. So inside of user bin is the Python 2.7 program, and inside user bin is the Python 3.8 program, or the interpreter, the Python interpreter. And if you just type in Python 3, you're basically going here. And if you type in Python 2, you're basically going here and launching that. So that's pretty good. So let's see if we can do that. I'll just type Python 3, and sure enough, it opens up the Python 3.8.2 interpreter, and there I'm in the interpreter. I can put in a command like print hello, and there it goes. And then I can quit like that, and I'm back out. All right, so I've got the list of things we're going to do. That's basically what we do to get started in chapter 1 in that book on Python Crash Course, and that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'll type clear, and we'll start off. First thing we'll do, we'll say in the course, it's in the book, it says, hey, first thing, let's make a directory called Python_work to store our work. Okay, done. Now I can go into that directory, and now I'm in the directory where I can basically make Python scripts. So the next thing we'll do is we'll make a Python script. So we'll say nano, which is a command line text editor, and we'll say hello_world.py. We're going to put the .py file extension on here so that we know that when we see a file, a text file that has .py on it, that it's a Python script, or it's a Python file. It's just a text file. All right, after you press enter, it opens up the Nano text editor, which is a very basic text editor. And then we can put in, first off, we'll start with a shebang, hash bang, and then the path to the shell that we're going to use, to the interpreter that we're going to be using. So we'll say user bin, and then we could say Python 3. So basically, when you run this script, this is the programming language that we're using. This is the interpreter Python 3 that we'll be using. All right, and then we'll just say print, and then in between quotes, my Python script, and let's fix the spelling on that. And then end double quotes, and then there we go. So there's our first script. Print my Python script. This is a string. It's in between quotes, and we've got the hash bang on the top that says we're to look in user bin Python 3. That's the shell, the interpreter that we're going to be using. So we'll say Control X, Y, and enter, and then we can run that program by just saying Python 3, and I'll add in the script name, and it should work, and there it is. So there we have it. All right, so we've gone through here, and we've done these things here. Also, when you're in the script, let's say I'm in that script again. I'll just do up arrow twice, and let's say you do something like you put a comment like that, and then you want to save your script. So I just changed my script, and I want to save it. So to get out of here in Nano, it's Control X. That's what that means here. Exit. That's what this means right here. Control X. So it's Control X, and then it tells you save modified buffer, question mark. Y is for yes. So I say Y. And then it says the file name to write, hello_world.py. Well, that's the name of the file. So in other words, I could change the file name here if I wanted to, but I don't want to, so I'll just press enter. And that's why in my instructions here, you can see I just have save, Control X, Y, and enter right here, Control X, Y, and enter. And then we ran the script. All right, now we're going to do two other things. And once again, this correlates to what's happening in chapter 1 of that book. I'm going to do this. Let me see if I can ping Yahoo.com. Make sure I'm online. I am online. All right, Control C. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to update my packages of software, my list of software packages that I can install. So my software repository list, package repository list. So sudo apt-get update. So we'll do that. You got to put in your password. So we put in a password, and it's updating all of the software packages that are available for installing easily. All right, so now I can install a text editor for writing Python scripts that is a little bit more, it's a little better than just the nano command line text editor, right? So we'll do a sudo apt-get install Sublime-Text. Now, if you have a text editor that you prefer, by all means, but in the book they recommend this text editor, and it is free, so we can just hit enter, and it says the following new packages will be installed. It lists it out here, and done. All right, so that worked. So now let's see if we can run it. So if I go to Start, and I'm interested in, let's see here, all applications, programming, Sublime-Text. There it is. So if I open that up, it should open up the program. All right, there it is. So there is the Sublime-Text editor. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is you could write your script in here. Let's see here, or we could just open up our script. So I'm going to open up in Home, Dan, Python work, and there is hello world.py, and there's my script. Now, if I go to, let's see here, Tools, Build, it should run with Python, it should run the script. But you can see here that it didn't work. It said command not found. So that's curious. So right here, in other words, if I go to Tool, Build, it doesn't find, it's not finding Python. Well, that's interesting because my terminal couldn't find Python either, because I needed to put in Python 3 or Python 2 and not just Python. So what we can do is we can fix that. So what we're going to do is we're going to say Tools, Build System, New Build System. And then right here we're going to make a couple of changes. We're going to change shell command to just CMD, and then we're going to change this here to in between brackets, and there is a comma here, and in between the brackets we're going to put Python 3 and -u between double quotes, and then between double quotes $file. All right, that is looking like what I'm supposed to have. All right, you can see it right here in my instructions here that I basically, so that should fix the problem that we're having and allow us to just say tools build and run it off of Python 3. So I will save this file, save, and I'll title it Python 3.sublime-build, and we'll hit save. Okay, that looks good. So now I'll close it, and then under Tools, Build results, no, build system. There it is. Tools, Build System, and you can see here that we have now Python 3. So I could choose Python 3, and now if I do Control B or Tools Build, you can see that it actually runs the program. In other words, if I say Tools Build, it actually runs. Well, why? Because now build system, I'm using the Python 3 build that we created, and you see here when we did the new build system, we created that build. Okay, and it's right here. So that's pretty good. So now you know there's two ways to run your script. I can open up the script here in Sublime-Text. There's the script that I opened up, and I can run it with Control B for build, and it'll run down here. Let's see if we change it. My Python script 2. And I'll save, Control S, and then I'll run it, Control B, and you can see that it ran right here. Or I can close it and I can open it up or run it from the terminal by just calling the program. Let's see here. Using Python 3 interpreter, using the Python 3 interpreter, run the Python program. And there it is there too. All right, that's it for chapter 1. Chapter 1 is just about getting your platform set up so that you can start writing some Python.